Do you want to know how to make trees for your model road? Why don't you stick around and watch this segment, see how we do it on my N-scale model road, this Sayrehurst secondary. Hello everyone, Joe from Central Jersey, Conrail and N-scale. Welcome back to the scenery playlist. So this time, we're going to be making some super trees for layout. So, you know, I love Scenic Express. They make some really, really great products. Their super trees are, you know, bar none. However, you know, I just found a little problem with their instructions that come with the super trees on how to do it. I had a problem with my previous batch. You know, I got a lot of crooked trees that came out of it. The flocking was falling off in various spots, and, you know, I didn't really... There's some of the trees just weren't perfect. So what I did is I went out and I tried to do as much research as I could, and you know I wasn't finding all too much. I talked with a bunch of modelers. Jim K was very instrumental in giving me a lot of new techniques to try to put these together. One was using 3M's 77 general purpose spray adhesive. Another thing was I picked up was painting the armatures. If you watch Tony Bowen, when he does his trees, he paints the armatures green. I had experimented with my previous batch with doing gray and brown and primer. You know, I wanted to try to make it tree-like. So I was decided to just go with green. The other thing was straightening these armatures. I know that Woodland Scenic says to take a soldering iron where the armatures are bent and, you know, hold it up to it to heat it and bend it straight. That's very time consuming. When you're dealing with a whole box of super trees, you can probably get somewhere to 200 armatures out of a box. And going through each armature like that was just ridiculous. So what I did find was I found a little video on Facebook. I can't even find it anymore. Some model railroad club down in Orlando had a steam tray set up and they were boiling them. So I got to experimenting and reading more, and a lot of people were boiling their armatures. So that's what I ended up doing. So it's a short video. It's going to be 3 steps. It's a 3-day process: preparing and boiling the armatures, hanging them, then you're going over to painting them, and then the 3rd day is flocking them. So why don't you go watch the video? I'll give you some little tips as I go through. Like I said, I think it's only like an 11-minute video, and then we'll talk some more afterwards. All right? So sit back, enjoy the video, and I'll see you on the backside. Okay, so here we are getting started. So the first thing what I do is I get a big pot of water and bring it up to a rolling boil. While I'm waiting for the water to boil, I break open my box, pull out my armatures and separate them, pull off the seed pods and get them prepped to go into the water. Now, I recommend you work in small batches. You can see I got that little foil tray. I fill that up. I don't want to put too many in there because I want to keep them hot while I'm hanging them up. So that's why you just control the size of the batch that you do. Now, after letting them boil for 10 minutes, I use my tongs and I lift them out of the water. They're super hot right now, so the tongs, I just kind of just grab them very lightly. You don't want to crunch them because you don't break them as they come out, so you get them all whole. Put them in the tray and then take the tray right down to the area where I'm going to be working at. Alright, so now I get over to my workspace. My chafing dish, the water is red hot to the touch. So what I'll do is I'll pull an armature out and throw it in the bucket. Let it soak for 30 seconds. I'll grab another armature, throw that in the bucket. Then I'll pick the previous one up out of the bucket and hang it. In the bucket is matte medium, which is mixed to 7 parts water. 1 part matte medium to 7 parts water. And that's to soak into the armature and kind of preserve it. That's really the only thing you're doing. And then as I'm doing that, I'm looking for any bends while it's still warm and bending it out straight. And then hang it up on the line with a clothespin, and then I'll put weight on the bottom to keep it straight. Okay, so this is the second batch out of the pot, and I'm bringing it down and I start hanging them up. The other thing I'm looking for as I'm taking them out of the pan here is if they're still not straight, even after I bend them, I'll put them back in and keep them heating and try it again. And so another option you could try is at this point here, instead of using matte medium, you could substitute in glycerin and just dunk them in the glycerin and then hang them to dry. And they say that that will do the same effect as preserving the armatures, but it'll make them a little softer. That is the end of day one, the first step. Okay, so here we are on the second day. This was the second step of the process. I'm getting set up here in my spray booth to spray paint the armatures. I went with just regular Krylon. I used an olive drab and a spring green. I looked to try to get the floral paints. I know that there are special paints to use with floral materials. Unfortunately, you know, I couldn't find them in stock in Michael's or anywhere online even. I guess they're in short supply right now. So I just went with Krylon, and you know what? It worked just as well. So I'll now let these dry up overnight, and that's the end of day 2 and the second step. Okay, so here we are getting started with day 3, and this is flocking. So instead of using the matte medium as Scenic Express recommends, I'm using 3M77 general purpose spray adhesive. So what I do is I just bring the armature over to my garbage can, spray it, and then take it over to the table and flock it with the Scenic Express flocking. So once I spray them with the adhesive, I come over here and I have these aluminum trays set up, and I dump the flocking on the tree. I make sure to get the underside of the branches as well as the top side, and then just shake off the excess and then put them in the styrofoam block to dry. Another variation to this is after you're done flocking the tree, if you desire, you can hit it with hairspray, either Tresemme or Aquanet unscented hairspray, and it'll lock in the flocking on the armatures. Here's a close-up. The reason I use those trays is to catch all that that ground foam material, and then use my hands and pick up that pile and then flock the trees with that as well, so it doesn't, all that material doesn't go to waste. And so there you go. That's our last batch. I'll let these dry up overnight and we'll get them planted. All right, so there you go. That's how I did it. So, you know, really happy with them. You know, I realize I'm adding an extra step in there, and some people may be criticizing that, but you know what? If you plan it in a 3-day event, I produced 100 and some odd armatures in one day, and the only reason I stopped at 100 is because I ran out of room and ran out of clothespins. So if you notice towards the end of the video, I was using little alligator clips that I had a whole box of 100 of them, and I was hanging them from the alligator clips and using the clothespins to weight them down. So, and that was just because I was ran out of stuff. So if I had more of those, I probably would have probably done another 100. So if you break it down over the 3-day process, open your box, prep your armatures, dump them in the pot and boil them. Some people were saying they're boiling them up to 15 minutes. And I was really, the first batch I ran through, I was really keeping an eye on them because I'm like, I don't want to cook these things and turn them into slime. But so I really kind of just went to 10 minutes. I think 10 minutes is really good. And then my little contribution to this process was, from that video, was having that steam line was just amazing. Like, I set up the chafing dish, got the sternos running for about 20 minutes, and the water was piping hot. So as I'm bringing them down steaming, I dump them in there, and it keeps them warm as I'm hanging them. So when they come out, they're nice and supple still, so I can still kind of just bend them a little bit very softly and then put the weight on them and hang them. And then before I hang them, you know, I dunk them in the matte medium to seal them. Now another thing was Jim K was saying you could dip them in glycerin. I didn't do that because I didn't have any glycerin, and I was kind of just going. So maybe on the next batch I'll try some glycerin. And now painting the armatures green. I didn't even bother with the trunks going with gray, and I know a lot of people are going to criticize that, but when you see the next video on how I plant them, I learned a lot from planting my first batch is that unless you're doing like an ornamental tree in like somebody's yard or a business that's manicured, the branches go right down to the ground. So pretty much I'm snipping the whole stem off anyway and planting it where all you're seeing is foliage. You don't even notice, and the green I think just really helps out for the flocking that falls off. And if you're real particular where you don't like the flocking on the trunks, you can go in there with a little brush with some alcohol and you can rub it off, and the 77, the 3M77 adhesive will break up with the alcohol and you can get that flocking off. So there's a way to just do it. But personally me, I just put them in, and I like the way they looked. And the last thing was the flocking itself. You know, I've been following Mike Rose and his construction, his layout, and like trees everywhere, beautiful stands of trees and stuff. But I noticed he was just using the one color. And I was like, You know, I always thought that, you know, nature has variety. Well, you know, this summer I started paying more attention to the trees. I was driving around, and you know what? Here in the Northeast, they're very, very uniform in color. You except the few that you get every so often, so maybe throw a spruce green in there because you got a pine tree or something like that. So I thought we're going with the medium green, and I threw in some of the burnt green, the summer burnt green grass, and just to give it a little shade of difference. And yeah, I think it looks really good. So I'm going to recant what I said on my previous tree video about making all those good. That light green tree was just, they stand out, and I don't like them. They don't look good at all. So yeah, sticking with the medium and the burnt and maybe even the fine green, you can probably just those three shades right in there, and throw a spruce every so often in there into the mix. And the super leaf, you know, the super leaf was really nice. I had one more demo packet of the super leaf, and that was a spruce green one, so I used those. I made a few of those for the foreground. Yeah, it's really worth it. I just didn't get around to buying anymore because I had so much supplies. I'm trying to use everything up. So that's why I didn't even do any more super leaf this time. So yeah, I'm kind of teasing you because you can see over my shoulder here, trees are already in. I had a blast putting them in. It was a whole day, but that's a whole nother video, and that'll be out next Friday. So next Friday you can look forward to watching the whole thing to come together. I got a lot of before and after shots, and I'm going to put together a nice video so you can see it all come together. And that's all I'm going to say about that. All right, so that's going to pretty much put a wrap on this video. So if you're watching this video for the first time, you like what you're seeing, please subscribe to our channel because we'd love to have you following along. And check us out on Facebook and Instagram because I'm always posting daily updates of all the progress down here in the layout. Otherwise, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.